Hello and welcome to this, episode 100 of VocTerGaming. I am your host, the vocal terrorist, Jesse Rain, and for many of you this is the first time you have ever laid eyes on my beautiful, beautiful face. So, if you're interested, by the way, in Starcraft 2 commentary, which I'm sure you are, because that's why you're here, there's going to be none of that this episode. I apologise for that. This is entirely self-indulgent. For the next maybe 20 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about myself. Because it's what I do best. I love talking about myself. And this is episode 100. Didn't think we'd make it here, so I decided now is the perfect time to talk about myself. So, my name's Jesse Rain Saunders. I go by the moniker The Vocal Terrorist. And I want to talk to you about how I got into this business, how I got into Starcraft 2, and how I got into commentary. And that starts almost 9 years ago now. March, it was the week after WrestleMania 20, in fact. I met up with a young lad called Gilbert Elkin, who at the time was wrestling under the name Ben Rage, now wrestles as one half of the Blackpool Blondes as Axel Rage. We met up at Blackpool train station and headed down to Manchester, where we met a man called Dave Rain and his at the time girlfriend Kat, cannot remember her last name. He took us around Manchester and he took us to Future Shock Wrestling, and for many, many years I didn't miss a weekend of training. I started off there, let me try and remember the original class. There was me, there was Gil, Dave Rain, Chris Egan, I believe Dom Travis, Jack Domino, Simon Valla, I think they were there at the start, Declan O'Connor and Paul Zantar. And what a time that was. I was 16 years old, maybe 15 even. I know I was very, very young. I'd spent some time. I had a friend of mine called Matt Cresswell who started at the FWA Academy down in Portsmouth, and he was the one who put me onto all this. And I got an email through. I was on the mailing list, so I got an email through saying Future Wrestling is opening up, blah 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 blah. And I went down, and it was just fantastic. Never ever have I felt more at home than I did at Future Shock when I started there. I remember the first training session vividly. In fact, I remember the first trainer I had was a man called Mike Bishop. Absolutely fantastic bloke, refereed for the FWA, top wrestler as well, really, really good British wrestler. And I got to train with him. That was my first session. And of course then we had Alex Shane come down and all this other stuff. And a lot of you, of course, aren't going to know these names. That's perfectly fine. Alex Shane is formerly the Show Stealer, then the Ascension, and now just, I think, plain old Alex Shane again. Businessman, entrepreneur, insane madman as well. By the way, if you hadn't noticed, I haven't actually planned out what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about me. This is incredibly rambly. It will be even ramblier by the end of it. So, honestly, if you're not interested, please feel free to turn off. Come back on Wednesday, we'll have proper commentary again, and that'll be a lot more fun for many of you. But so as to how I got into commentary, essentially I'd hung around Future Wrestling, I trained there for quite a while, and I ended up attending a show that was at the time called Great British Wrestling, that was run by Declan O'Connor. I think it's the only show he ever run. To be fair, it was pretty bad. But I walked in the front door and he said to me, Jesse, I don't have a ring announcer, do you want a ring announce? And so I did. For those of you who don't know what a ring announcer is, it's like in boxing, like Michael Buffer in boxing, Bruce Buffer in the UFC. I get to use my voice, I get to go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to wherever the hell we are. It was really fun. I absolutely loved it. It was such a good experience for me. I was quite a shy kid, if you can believe that. Obviously, I'm not anymore. But at the time, I was really, really shy. And so kind of getting out there, standing in front of a crowd, wearing a suit, wearing a cowboy hat as well, in fact, that I don't have anymore. I sold that original cowboy hat to a man called Dan for £70. Oh, Dan. And then bought a new one for £35. So there we go. Always thinking. But so I got to announce this Great British Wrestling show, and it was awful, but at the same time it was such a good experience for me. And then I transitioned into announcing the Future Shock shows, and I've done that for so many years. I also worked for a few other promotions here and there. I did a couple of shows for GPW in Wigan, a promotion we're actually having problems with at the moment as part of the XWA. I'm not really going to mention that. That's not really relevant to me per se. They've not really done anything to me. I'm trying to stay as out of it as possible, and obviously you guys aren't going to know what's going on with that, so that's fine. We'll just put that aside for a moment. But anyway, I transitioned into being the ring announcer for Future Shock for many, many years. I think maybe 4 or 5 years I did that before I finally quit. There were many decisions that went into that I don't really want to go into, but that's where I learned my trade, and I learned from some of the best. I learned from Greg Lambert, but most of all, I learned from experience. I learned from going out there and doing it month after month. You learn what works, you learn how to talk to a crowd, and you learn that crowd as well, because there are many, many regulars. And before I move on, I want to talk about a moment that probably meant more to me in wrestling than anything else. It was, in fact, well over a year. Well over a year when after we'd first started. In fact, even maybe slightly more than that. And we had a tournament. We had a trophy tournament, which ended up in the final of Dom Travis versus Dangerous Damon Lee, and Dom finally won. That was a really well built up storyline. It was a really, really good show and a really, really good match. But on the January show afterwards, where Dom Travis won, I was presenting him with the trophy that he'd won, and at the same time, and I don't even know if this was known to him at the time because we hid it quite well, I also presented him with the Future Shock Wrestling Championship belt. It was the first time Future Shock had a champion, because it was something we weren't interested in to begin with. At the start, we were just building up an audience, but we finally had this Future Shock Wrestling title belt, and I gave it to Dom Travis, and that was such a huge moment for me as a Future Shock trainee, as their first consistent ring announcer, and just as a friend of Dom Travis, to finally have this company have a champion, have it be him, have it be one of my best friends in wrestling at the time. It was absolutely fantastic. I don't think I've felt a moment like it ever in my life. It was just absolutely brilliant. One of my favourite moments. Definitely on par with the first time I spoke to my fiancée. I'm doing my adorable blush face now. You can all ignore me. But anyway, there came a point when I was winding down from wrestling. I'd really gotten tired of it. I stopped attending Future Wrestling training. All I was literally doing to be involved in wrestling was attending the Future Shock shows and ring announcing for them. And that's when I got a call saying that there was space on this coach to travel down to the restart of the FWA. And I jumped on that. It was only like 40 quid at the time, which is pretty cheap for getting bussed down there, seeing a warm-up show, getting a question and answer session with Doug Williams, an absolute legend. And I do actually have a photo of him with really long ginger hair somewhere, so Doug, be warned, that photo may find its way out if you ever stop returning my emails. And so I jumped on this, and that's when I met Greg Lambert again, someone I hadn't seen in years, Gilbert Elkin again, someone I hadn't seen in years, and all the XWA lads, which is where I am now. They're based at a promotion based in Morecambe, a really, really good promotion. Excuse me, used to be part of the FWA, but then when the FWA disbanded the first time, anyway, it stayed running. It became the XWA. And I had such a blast with those guys, and it really kind of returned my love of wrestling. So I thought, hey, why not? Headed up to XWA training, where I once again actually wrestled, like put on the spandex and everything. I was part of a battle royal for them, which is where you lose the match. You get eliminated by being thrown over the top rope and landing with both feet on the floor. Unfortunately for me, the way it's supposed to happen is you get thrown over the ropes and you try and guide yourself to land on your feet. What happened to me instead was I got thrown up in the air and I came, bam, down back first on the ring apron, which is pretty much just wood. There's not much of anything there. It is just pretty much wooden planks and a steel frame, and I was unable to walk for a few minutes. I had to be helped to the back, and that was pretty much the end of it for me. I went to the hospital later that night. They told me I was lucky not to have broken my spine. I came back to training. I did try and train again, as my computer decides to shut down. I hope this is still recording. Excuse me, yep, it's still recording. Good old technical difficulties. We do love those on VocTerGaming. Anyway, they told me that I was lucky not to have broken my spine, and that I probably shouldn't wrestle again. And me being me, I did wrestle again. I turned up to training and proceeded to re-injure myself. So it came to the point where I had to give up actually physically doing it, which was a blow to me. I was really enjoying it at the time. But at the same time, Greg came forward to me and said, would I be interested in other positions within XWA? And I was set to be a manager for some wrestlers, to come out with them, basically be their voice, talk on the microphone. This is around the time we came up with the moniker, the Vocal Terrorist. Shamelessly stolen, I might add, from a comic called Dr. Sleepless by Warren Ellis. You really should pick that up, along with the doorbell going off. God, I love this. This is why I don't do these ever. Everything just goes wrong. I hope that's not for me. If it is, I will stab someone. My train of thought is gone. That's about when the time we go, oh yes, blah, 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 blah. Dr. Sleepless by Warren Ellis. Pick it up. Also pick up Transmetropolitan by Warren Ellis. Really, really good comic series. But anyway, I was set to become a manager. That never really happened. We got about 2 shows into the storyline and everyone I was involved with just disappeared. So that didn't really happen. I was going to sit and stare at this door until people shut up. I love sharing my house with my family. If I mentioned that, I live with my grandparents, I live with my brother, because I'm extremely poor. I'm in so much debt. Still about £8,000 worth of debt to pay off. So if any of you VocTerGaming fans are massively rich, I could do with about 8 grand. So keep that in mind when you're sending out birthday presents or Christmas presents. Classy. As I was saying, the manager thing never really came about. We got about 2 shows into it, and a lot of the lads stopped coming to training. So, you know, that was a good indictment of my abilities. That worked well. But I got another chance from Greg Lambert. I got asked to do commentary on the XWA DVDs. And it was me and Lewis Penny for the first 2. Lewis, absolutely lovely bloke. Absolutely lovely bloke. Cannot see anything. So that was certainly really interesting. The DVD after that I did on my own because Lewis also stopped appearing. Since then I've worked with both, in fact besides Greg, me and Greg did Last Fight at the Prom, which was a terrifying experience. Let me go into that. Greg Lambert is an absolute legend in the British wrestling scene. He ran a Wrestling X, I believe it was called, a newsletter. He worked for Power Slam, one of the biggest, in fact probably the biggest wrestling magazine alongside the Wrestling Observer. He works as a journalist for them. He's Britain's #1 wrestling journalist. He runs the XWA. He was part of the legendary FWA. And here I was, sat next to him, doing commentary on a DVD with him. I cannot get across to you how terrifying and great that was. And from all accounts, he loved the commentary. So last Saturday, I was up in Morecambe again, doing live commentary. Sat next to my friend Matt Stallion Whitfield. Absolute legend of a bloke as well. Probably doesn't watch these, because I believe he has a life, as much as many would believe he doesn't. But I got to do that. I got to do live commentary with him and go on a night out with Brian Fulton, which was very, very nice. But that's how I got into commentary, by complete accident. And I've got to say, I love it. To transition into that, or from that to this, how did I get to Starcraft 2? I'm a huge nerd. I'm a massive, massive nerd. I watch Transformers, I even watch the new Avengers cartoons, I read comic books, I play video games all the time. So when StarCraft 2 was about to be released, this was after it had been in the beta, I was wetting my pants with excitement. That is what was going on there. I was so excited about it. And someone, God bless them, whoever they are, linked me to Day 9. And not just Day 9, but the Razor King of the Beta tournament, as it was called, when Zergs were getting destroyed by 5 Rax Reaper. And from that moment on, I was hooked. Season 2 of GSL I picked up. And from then on, I've watched every single GSL event, every single GSL match, in fact, I have watched. For those of you who aren't aware, I don't know how you could not be, GSL is the biggest Starcraft 2 event. It's out in South Korea. It's the Global Starcraft 2 League, run by GOM TV, commentated on by Artosis and Tasteless, the two greatest commentators of our time. Absolutely fantastic show. If I could do half of what they do there, I would be so happy. I would absolutely love to go out there at some point and do that. But right now, I'm just a man in a room recording video on a PC with, by the way, a wallpaper of Slayer's Boxer, because props to the Boxer, props to the Emperor, in fact. I'm never going to do that again, I promise. There's no more of that. That's embarrassing. But so I watched this Razor King of the Beta tournament, I watched the GSL, and I was just so pumped. I was so excited for StarCraft 2, and I got it, and I'm terrible at it. Like, I'll come straight out and say that. I play, as of now, I play maybe 4 or 5 games a month, because I do so much. Between, like, recording these, that takes a good couple of hours out of every day. I work at Morrison's Supermarket because I need actual money to pay. Obviously, I work with Future Shock, and I'm still around Future Shock shows, even though I no longer work for them. Obviously, being at XWA a lot, doing the commentary for that takes time. Staying in touch with Greg and Brian and the wrestlers, and just kind of keeping part of the wrestling scene takes time. And of course, the person I haven't properly mentioned yet, and this is a segue, my wonderful fiancée, Swati Nair. God, I hope I pronounced that right. I've been practicing that for ages. Without her, it is safe to say there'd be no VocTerGaming. She was the impetus behind this. When I first met her, nearly 9 months ago, in fact, it'll be 9 months ago, 6 days from now. 6 days from recording this, anyway. 5 days from from uploading it. If I upload it tomorrow, I might upload it tonight, though. Just a little bonus treat for all you lovely, lovely people. But I met her online. I met her on the XKCD webcomic forums, in fact. And she's just absolutely perfect. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. I don't even know where to begin with how important she is to my life. How important she was to me then as well. But she's the impetus behind this channel. She's the impetus behind every video I've made. She's the one who said, saw my love for StarCraft 2, saw my love for commentary, and pushed me, and I mean pushed me, into recording for it. She's my audience. At a time when I thought no one at all would watch these, I just carried on doing them to her. When I think of who I'm talking to, even when I think of who I'm talking to now, I'm talking to her. I'm talking to my fiancée. And a few things I should show you. First of all, there is the very blurry ring, the engagement ring. Bought that a few weeks ago now. I've been back from India for just over a week. Very, very upsetting. I spent 2 weeks out there with her. What an amazing time that was. As well as that, her mother bought me, look at that. My arm doesn't bend that way and my webcam isn't mirrored, so I'm going the wrong way. That is the sexiest watch I have ever worn. Absolutely love it. I love her mother as well. Her mother's incredible, and I'm really glad to be becoming part of that family. I love her more than I've ever loved anyone, and I'm really sorry if anyone else is actually still watching this. Why would you? I don't know, but there we are. I love that woman. I love her more than anything. I love her more than anyone. I'd give all this up for her right now, if that's what she needed. But she doesn't. She keeps pushing me to do this. She keeps pushing me to actually play StarCraft 2 more and get good and join the pro scene, which is a terrible idea, but it kind of sounds fun. We'll see. We'll see where it goes from there. But without her, there is no VocTerGaming. Every one of the last 100 videos is entirely for her. So this is kind of a thank you note. Thank you to my wonderful fiancée and soon-to-be wife. Thank you for sticking by me. Thank you for sticking with me, despite the fact I can be pretty terrible sometimes. And thank you so much for making me do these, for pushing me to follow my dream. Thank you. Well, I think that pretty much covers it. So, before I go, I have one last surprise. we have a special guest on VocTerGaming. It's Ruby! Because I figure if you're still watching by now, the least I could do is give you a cat. Say hi, Ruby. Hi. Oh, you're going to hate me for this, aren't you, cat? Come on, sit with me. Sit with me while I cradle my cat. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been VocTerGaming, episode number 100. I will be back on Wednesday with proper Starcraft 2 commentary, and you do not have to see my gorgeous face anymore. Thank you very much for watching. Say goodbye to my lovely cat. Big thank you to my wonderful fiancée. And a big thank you to all of my fans who keep watching, keep pushing me to do more. Thank you all, and good night.